pitched his butt off, and we left a village on the bases tonight, and just glad to get the win.
Almost 24 hours after that emotion, we're back playing baseball once again. As Fox Sports Ohio brings you Cincinnati Reds baseball. Today, Game 2 of a 7-game homestand, Game 2 of a 3-game set. It's the Reds against the New York Mets. Hi, hello, and welcome to Cincinnati, everyone. Along with the crafty left-hander Chris Welch, I'm George Grant. Pete Rose always said it's not your last at-bat, it's your next at-bat that's important, and last night Jay Bruce really made that true.
Well, you're right about that, because had he been thinking about the previous at-bats he had, chances where he could have helped the Reds win that ball game earlier in the game, he may not have been able to come through and been the hero that he was last night. But swinging the bat the way he has for home run balls is the key for Jay Bruce. You know, he always hits home runs. Let's go back to Sunday. Scoreless ball game against a young left-hander, and he gets a ball in the inner part of the plate, pops it into the bleachers in Wrigley Field and in right field. And last night, with a couple of runners on base, he gets a ball out over the middle of the plate. He takes it the other way. And really the difference for Jay Bruce between these two swings is that one guy, Brooks Raley, was throwing a ball about 87 miles an hour. He got it inside. He was able to get the bat head out. And against young Edgin last night, he was throwing about 93, 94 miles an hour. So you don't get to stay behind it and pull it as much. He went the other way. But one thing for certain, plenty of power in that bat of Jay Bruce.
You know, that win is very important. Yes, for the Reds, it's even more important because who they're facing today. R.A. Dickey, one of the best pitchers in the league.
And he's on a roll, too. I mean, when he throws strikes with his knuckleball, oh, and by the way, he's been throwing strikes all year long with that knuckleball, he's nearly untouchable. So you got to figure that R.A. Dickey and Johnny Cueto and maybe Clayton Kershaw right now are the three top guys in the league who are in pursuit of that Cy Young Award. But R.A. Dickey does it in a very unusual way. He throws a knuckleball. It's a tough pitch to hit. It's a tough pitch to catch. But he throws it harder than most pitchers really do. So it'll be interesting to see how the Reds do against him. Second time this year they've been able to see him. And Mike Leake, well, he's a guy that has struggled at home, been pitching very well on the road. We'll see if he can't bring some magic here to Great American Ballpark by being a little bit more aggressive in the strike zone, getting strikes early on, and then expanding the zone rather than getting behind in the count.
Now, Mike Leake will have an extra bat in the lineup. He's ready to go to work today. And for the Reds, they're smiling because Scott Rowland is back in the lineup. Coming up next, we'll take a look at the third baseman back. Is he healthy? Is he ready? He says, let me at him. heating, cooling, and drain cleaning with the latest on the weather story. Here's Michelle Boudelet.
Another great night at the ballpark. Look for mostly sunny skies early on. Temperatures will be a touch warmer than last evening at 83, but by the end of the game, temperatures drop into the mid-70s under mostly clear skies. Enjoy the game out there. For Fox Sports Ohio, I'm Local 12 meteorologist Michelle Boudelet.
Thanks, Michelle. You brought us good luck last night. Can Scott Rowland bring the Reds good luck tonight? Chris, good to see him back in the lineup.
Well, you know, Scott Rowland is more than just about good luck. He's about good fielding. He's about clutch hitting. He's about a good guy on the ball club to lead. And it's tough to lead when you're not playing. Scott Rowland's back seized up on him after that trip on the bus from Milwaukee to Chicago, and he was only able to walk that whole weekend that the Reds were in Chicago. But he's come around and watched him take batting practice the last couple of nights, and good to have him in the lineup. There's no question about that. It kind of completes his ball club. Other than having Joey Votto back, you need Rowland in there. He's one of the corner guys. You saw what he did over his last 15 games before he had a little back problem, so hopefully he'll be able to pick up right where he left off.
Big numbers the last 15 games. He hasn't played since the 7th of August. He's back. Frazier's back. The Reds are ready to get it rolling. Can they make it 5? We'll find out next as Mike Leake takes the mound. Baseball, and the Reds a smiling scoreboard last night with the 3-run home run by Jay Bruce, hoping to make it 5 in a row. They'll turn the ball over to Mike Leake, who will go to work. Mike Baxter will move up to the leadoff spot from the number 2 spot in the order that he's filled most of the time, and Ruben Tejada will drop down to the number 2 spot. Baxter, good, solid left-handed bat. Overall 303. Last night had a base hit, a single to center in the 5th inning. This one looped to left, going back, looking up in the sun. He'll battle that sun, peeking over the top of the stands, and Ryan Ludwig will haul it in. That's your first out of the 1st inning. Here's Terry Collins' batting order. Baxter leading off. Ruben Tejada will bat in the number 2 spot. He's a right-handed hitter. Daniel Murphy hits 3rd. David Wright will hit cleanup tonight. And then Ike Davis, a former teammate of Mike Leake at Arizona State, will bat behind him. Andres Torres back in center. Josh Tolley will catch Dickey. They've been together since 2010. He catches the tough knuckleballer. That's the batting order for Terry Collins and the Mets. Here's Mr. Leake. Tejada at 318, a homer and 20 knocked in. The Reds have got great pitching from Latos, great pitching from Cueto, great pitching from Bailey. They're looking for Mike Leake to close out this season in a strong fashion.
Well, it would behoove Mike Leake to do the same thing. I mean, you know, he's pitched better than his record. There's always seems to be one guy on the pitching staff that gets a lot of the no decisions, doesn't get a lot of run support. Mike Leake this year has hardly had any run support on his behalf. In fact, they're averaging fewer than 4 runs a game when he takes the mound. In fact, earlier in the year it was even less than that. So, you know, when you pitch 22 starts like he has and you only have 11 decisions, it either means you're not going deep into a ball game or you're pitching in a real tight game when your team is kind of hanging in there. And he'd love to be able to get a few runs on the board on his behalf. That may not happen tonight, however, against R.A. Dickey.
That's why last night's win was so important in this series, wasn't it?
It really was, yeah. I mean, when you know that you've got the stud pitcher going in the second game, it does put a little pressure on the first game. The Reds have been so good winning series. That's what Dusty Baker tried to get them to understand at the very beginning of the year. You have to win the series 2 out of 3, 3 out of 4. You do that every time out and you'll have no problems.
And really where the Reds are right now, they start tonight with their biggest lead of the season, 6 games over the Pirates in the National League Central. You're in a win 2 out of 3 series right now. In other words, more than have a 10-game winning streak. Do it with 2 out of 3, 2 out of 3, you're in pretty good shape. Quick first inning for Mike Leake. He takes a breather. Zach Cozart goes to the bat rack. Brought to you by the 2012 Ford F-150 Motor Trend Truck of the Year by Cincinnati, USA. Let us be your travel guide to Cincinnati, USA. Visit CincinnatiUSA.com. And by Skyline Chili. Game time is Skyline time. Stop by your favorite Skyline Chili today. Going for 5 in a row. Let's check Dusty Baker's starting lineup. Zach Cozart will be in the leadoff spot. Drew Stubbs bats second. Brandon Phillips in the number 3 hole. Then Ryan Ludwig. Both Ludwig and Phillips had big hits in that 9th inning last night. Jay Bruce had the biggest hit of all, of course, the 3-run homer. Rolling back in the lineup behind Bruce, Frazier Mesoraco catches Leake. That's 1 through 9, your Reds batting order. And here is the supreme knuckleballer.
Well, at 38 years of age, he finally is having his best year as a major leaguer. In fact, before this season, his career numbers were under 500. You'd never know that from his numbers this year. 15 wins, 3 losses, earned run average right down around 2.7. From Nashville, Tennessee, R.A. Dickey.
University of Tennessee product. Great interview that you had with him, Chris, as he described the knuckleball. And there aren't many knuckleballers that can be as articulate as he is.
Well, there aren't many baseball players as articulate as R.A. Dickey. He's got a degree in journalism. He's written a book. He's a true student of the written word, and he's very articulate when it comes to talking about it too. I imagine that if he wants to, he could be a broadcaster after his days are over.
There's a bouncer by Cozart past the third baseman right into the corner. He rounds first, goes to second. He'll take a big turn and he'll slam on the brakes. He was thinking 3, but a wise decision. You don't want to make the first or last out at third. Any question, break it, and he did.
Well, when you're facing a knuckleballer, you're not really trying to drive the ball one way or another. You're not saying, okay, I'm going to stay inside the breaking ball and go the other way. You're trying to make contact, hit it hard somewhere. And Zach Cozart does that. He is safe at second. He is safe and secure.
New York life. Well, against the New York Mets, the Reds have a New York life here in the first inning. Here's Drew Stubbs. We'll see what Dusty does.
Well, I bet Stubbs comes to the batter's box just hoping and praying. He says, please don't make me try to lay down a bunt off this guy.
To the stretch. He shows bunt, gets it down. Dickey will take the out at first, and they'll get it. I don't know what's harder, swinging at it or bunting at it. Neither one is easy. A sacrifice for Stubbs, and the Reds have a runner at third.
Well, it's a knuckleball. There's no doubt about it. It's got a little more spin on it than R.A. Dickey would like. But Stubbs gets the first one down. Boy, that takes the drama away when you do that.
Good job by Drew Stubbs. So the runner at third with one out. Here comes Brandon.
The most relieved guy in the ballpark right there, number 6.
Who was the toughest knuckleballer you ever faced?
Well, the only guy I really faced regularly was Joe Niekro.
Yep.
I can't say I face him regularly, but have recurring nightmares.
Here's Brandon, 295, 13 homers, 63 knocked in. Last night, he was 0 for 2. But Phillips started it with a walk in the 9th inning. Ludwig then had a base hit, and then Bruce had the homer. Kicks away, and Cozart will slam on the brakes again.
Well, that's what you really have to be aware of, and I guarantee you that Mark Berry has gone over with every one of these runners before the ball game, and then if you are fortunate enough to get to third base, he'll go over with you again. You have to be aware of the wild pitch, because it can happen at any time. Remarkably, this year, R.A. Dickey only has 2 wild pitches thrown.
He's had as many as 4 in an inning. That was early in his knuckleballing career. Back in 2008, he's become much more proficient at locating that knuckleball. In fact, he holds the all-time record, tied with 4 others, with 4 wild pitches in an inning. Here's a 1-1 delivery. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
I think what also you have, George, is Josh Thole behind the plate becoming a little bit more accustomed to catching that knuckleball, because I imagine that there are some catchers out there that would rather not have a knuckleballer on their staff, because it is so different than anybody else, and the whole concept of pitching when you catch a knuckleballer than somebody else, that it may take you out of your own game.
Infield in at the edge of the grass. Here's the 1-2 that's up high. Thole had never caught a knuckleball before he caught this right-hander, R.A. Dickey. That was in 2010. He has dedicated himself. They've become good friends. They talk baseball all the time. They have become very close in a lot of different ways. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Slap foul. And you'll notice he will give signs, not just a fastball sign, but Bob Guerin says it's a darndest thing. The only other knuckleballer I've ever seen do this is Charlie Huff. But he has signs for knuckleball when he can control it that will be a knuckleball up and away, a knuckleball up and in, down and in, and down and away. Not many have been able to do that. Only the greatest, like Niekro and Huff. In the dirt. Thole before the game was saying, my job is to make him feel as comfortable as he can, because if I can't catch the ball, then he's going to feel like he's got to throw more fastballs, and we're all in trouble if he has to do that. Full count, 3-2. Center field. That'll drop for a hit. Waiting for it to drop is Cozart. Now he'll trot home. Good job by Phillips, and that's a textbook way to deal with a knuckleball pitcher. Shorten your swing.
Well, shorten your swing. Again, try to make contact. Don't go up there and take a big hack and hope the ball breaks into the sweet spot. He stays right on this, and Brandon Phillips, he's about as good a low ball hitter as you want to see. Look how he even drops his back knee to the dirt right here as he follows through on that ball, trying to watch that ball all the way to the bat. it's a battle.
So Brandon picks up his 64th run batted into the season. Reds lead at 1-0, and here's Ryan Ludwig. Other part of the story, Chris, in most cases, knuckleballers, as Ara Dickey described to you, he doesn't use his legs a lot, so he has a quick motion. Can you steal easier on a knuckleball?
Well,
pitcher?
if the catcher drops the ball.
Soft bloop to second. They'll get one, and they'll turn it into two. Ludwig bounces into the 4-6-3. But the Reds get it done. Double sacrifice. Get him on, get him over, and get him in from Brandon. 1-0 Reds. Took the Reds all night long to get a run last night. They get one in the first, and here comes David Wright hitting fourth tonight. Wright, Davis, and Valdespin up for the Mets as we go to the second. David in at .323, 16 home runs and 75 knocked in on the season. Against Leake, he's 1 for 7. For Hopper down to short. And there's one away. Time for Elk and Elk Storylines, brought to you by Elk and Elk, serious lawyers for serious injuries. Walk-off winners. Fourth in his career for Bruce last night, but Reds sure have done it all year, Chris.
Well, they have. 8 times they've done it. You see where they stand, along with the Dodgers, Nationals, and Phillies. And, you know, it's a ball club that makes it worthwhile staying around to the end of the ball game. Either they may win it very late, or they're going to bring in Aroldis Chapman. Either reason is enough for me to sit in the stands and wait till that 9th inning to roll around.
That's the hero last night. The Beaumont bomber bombed one to left. One away, and here's Ike Davis, former teammate of Mike Leake on the mound. Not only teammates, two guys who root for each other. When Davis was mired in his slump earlier in the year when the Reds went to New York, it was Leake who tried to give him a bit of a pep talk. I mean, in Ike Davis's case, it was partly mechanical, but even more so. He had, they first called it the flu, maybe pneumonia, and a lot of people believe it was probably valley fever. And he's still not 100% health-wise. Leake gets him here, and there's 2 away. Let's check your 4 defensive alignment for the Reds. Defense has been a key for Cincinnati. Ludwig, Stubbs, and Bruce in the outfield. Rolling back at third with his pocket full of gold gloves. Cozart and Phillips have been great as a double play combo, and Frazier back at first for Joey Votto. Devin Mesoraco back in the lineup for Mike Leake. That's your 4 defensive alignment for the Reds. There are a lot of similarities for the Reds in this year to 2010 when the Reds made it to the postseason. And Chris, we've been doing this together for 20 years, and we saw some pretty bad defensive teams, but defense was a key in 2010, and it's been a key for Dusty Baker this year.
Well, in this ballpark especially, because the two things that hurt you in this park are walks and extra outs for the opposition. Because everybody who walks to the plate at Great American Ballpark has got home run power. You don't need 3 hits in an inning to score a run. All you need is an, excuse me, opposite field home run to right field. So when you start walking guys or you give the other team some extra at-bats, that's when the roof can really cave in on you. And this defense is just tight. They are just very good. They make every play. Plus, they make superlative plays as well. And they run the ball down in the outfield as well as anybody also. So it's not only infield defense, it's outfield defense.
Just missing with the 0-2. James Hoy is behind the plate from an umpiring perspective tonight. Jim Joyce, the veteran crew chief, is at first. Dan Iasonia at second, and Jimmy Reynolds over at third. Your umpiring crew for tonight. That's up high. 2-2. Loop to left, rolling over, reaching up, got it. That tested the back a little bit. 6 up, 6 down for Mike Leake. The Rollins due up second when we return. Ball game, a cold one. You can look forward to it for Miller time later in tonight's game, brought to you by Miller Lite. Hey Reds fans, if a Reds home run hits the Toyota sign during today's game, Vic Schultz from Fort Thomas, Kentucky will win this beautiful new Tundra on display at Great American Ballpark. Register for your chance to win at an upcoming game by seeing your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealers. Well, James Hoy is on his way out to the mound to talk to Dickey. It looks like it's something about his uniform. Is it the jersey, that sleeve that's popping out from underneath? Yeah. I mean, you're not allowed to have one be unmatched to the other and be flapping outside your jersey. And RA's, oh no, it's the wrist. I guess it's the wrist. Seen the jersey, Chris, but not the wrist.
Well, you know that the Mojo wristband right there.
Not me. Not me.
Well, you know, it's a head game. You're always trying to get whatever advantage you can. You remember last night when Jordani Ball to Speen, asked for time with Jimmy Reynolds umpire behind the plate while Matt Latos was in his delivery and got time. That's just trying to upset the pitcher a little bit. And I think it's a head game. You do whatever you can. I don't know how that wristband was ever going to cause any kind of distraction, but rules are rules. And if you want to call them on it, you call them on it.
Bruce, right center field, going back at the wall, looking up is Torres, and he'll haul it in. About 8 feet short. Jay is retired. Bruce comes in 1 for 6 against Dickey in their matchups.
Well, the ball ought to carry a whole lot better tonight than it did last night. There was a little bit of a cloud cover last night. There was no breeze to speak of at all. There is breeze tonight, even though it looks like it's blowing from right field to left field. That'll help the balls into gaps here at Great American tonight.
Were you trying to take Michelle Boudoulette's job away with the weather report?
No, no, no. I will tell you, though, that it's likely to be dark tonight, followed by light tomorrow.
Light tomorrow.
If the donkey's tail is wet, it's raining.
Bits of wisdom from the St. X graduate. Rolling left field, heading towards the corner. One hop off the top of the wall. He rounds first. He's coming into second. The throw won't be in time. And Scott Rowland has his 11th double of the season. That's a way to come back to the lineup.
Well, you always wonder after a guy takes 4 or 5 days off. I mean, in his case, he couldn't even move, take batting practice, do much of anything with that back locked up on him like he did. Whether he'll have his timing, especially against a knuckleballer. Reds have already had really good swings against R.A. Dickey, something they did not do very much of when he pitched against him in New York.
Here's Frazier is 1 for 4 against him in those games in New York. Pretty good numbers at 280, 14 homers and 48 knocked in. That's why. Tolle is the regular catcher for Dickey, and that will stay the same. But the Mets do have another catcher on the roster who they picked up from the Red Sox yesterday. That's Kelly Shopik, who also has caught a knuckleballer. That's Tim Wakefield in Boston in years past. So they've got 2 guys that can do it now. But that guy right there has done an outstanding job defensively all year. In fact, when the big brouhaha came up at the All-Star break and Tony La Russa did not name Dickey as his starter for the All-Star game, hopped up right side. A couple of people suggested, well, if you're worried about embarrassing another catcher, why don't you just bring Tolle up as an All-Star catcher? Let's check the Mets defense on the year. Your forward defensive alignment for Terry Collins. Torres can go get it in center field. Mike Baxter solid in right. Right David at third. 2 gold gloves in his cabinet. Tejada Murphy solid at the double play combo. Ike Davis good at picking him out of the dirt at first. And Tolle has been great for Dickey behind the plate. 2 away, and here's Mesoraco. Against the Mets so far this year, 2 for 8. As he faces Dickey for the first time. Dribble to the left side. Devin, of course, on the 7-day disabled list with concussion-like symptoms. Has not been in a game since the 10th of the month. Back now, and the next stage of his season will be the appeal of the suspension, the 3-game suspension that has been levied against him. Still no word on when that hearing will be held. Here's a 1-1. One of the differences in Dickey's knuckleball is the speed at which he throws it. Most knuckleballs come in at 60 to 65 miles per hour. And his will approach 80 miles an hour at times. Makes the job of a catcher that much more difficult. the legendary broadcaster and comedian. You can't talk about catching without talking about Bob Uecker, and when asked how do you catch a knuckleball, or you wait for it to stop rolling behind the screen and pick it up. But did that hit him? It's inside anyways, and the runner Roland will advance to third. Did not hit him. It just glanced off the glove of Tolley. A walk and a pass ball, so going to third will be Roland. At first will be Bezzeracco, and here comes Mike Leake. One of the best hitting pitchers in the league, often used as a pinch hitter by the Reds. Soft one hopper. Tejada will take care of it, and the Reds get a double and a walk. Nothing to show for it. Torres due up when we return. Furniture Fair shopping spree from the Reds and Furniture Fair. Visit the registration table located outside section 120 inside the ballpark before September 27th for an entry form. No purchase necessary. Postcard entries are also accepted. Hey Chris, here's tonight's Farmer Insurance report card. How long has it been since the Reds have put together a scoreless streak like this?
That's a long time.
27 consecutive scoreless innings, longest streak since 1963 by Reds pitchers. We'll give you a bonus.
I didn't know that was a quiz.
We'll give you a bonus question right on the quiz.
I'm much better at fun facts than quizzes.
Here's Andres Torres, 240, a couple of homers, 31 knocked in off the hands and fouled off. Torres, Tolley, Dickey due up. That one was hit like a knuckleball. Knuckleballing at the first baseman Frazier on the broken bat. He hauls it in, and there's one away. Here comes Tolley. Last time these two teams met, Todd Frazier had half the ballpark at Citi Field that were relatives and friends. Well, they packed them the two times the Reds went to New York. From New Jersey, family, friends just flocked to the park to congratulate him on being a part of this team, and now they can congratulate him on having a tremendous season. It's only at 262, only one home run, 18 knocked in. Loop towards center. Will anybody get there? The speedster will. 2 away. Right now on FoxSportsOhio.com, the Cincinnati Bearcats are in Indiana for training camp. Zach Jackson explains the ritual and previews the upcoming season. Plus, if you haven't seen the video of Chad Johnson being released from the Dolphins, you can check it out right now on FoxSportsOhio.com. Leak will often coax a lot of ground balls. So far tonight, a lot of fly balls. And here's Dickey. Decent 9 hits and 48 at bats for this right-handed swinger. You on a regular basis would throw batting practice to the Reds for many years. Later in your career, did you ever contemplate the knuckleball?
You know, I wish I had, George, but you know, it was interesting talking to R.A. Dickey about that your delivery is completely different. That's why it's very difficult for a pitcher who throws a conventional approach like Mike Leake, for instance, to just mix in a knuckleball as part of his repertoire.
Strikeout number 1 for Leake. 9 up, 9 down. Top of the order due up for the Reds.
For me, it's much more of an upper body throw. I try to not get my legs involved, and I just really try to work on repeating my delivery. My visual for me is trying to stay within the frame of a door. I try to go right in like I'm going right through a door frame. So that keeps me from getting a little bit too lateral with my mechanic.
Well, while that was going on, Jim Joyce was explaining to Terry Collins, I believe, Chris, the reason why they forced him to take the wristband off. Jim Joyce, the crew chief here.
I mean, I didn't know that we were back on that.
I've seen jewelry and I've seen sleeves, but that's the first time I've seen a bracelet. being the source of removal. It is so far a cordial discussion by Jim Joyce, the crew chief, Dickey, and Terry Collins.
Well, there are a lot of things in the rule book that describe it. It's at the very beginning of the rule book, 1.11, we talk about what a uniform is consisted of and how players are not allowed to not conform with the uniform, which by definition means everything needs to be the same. And you know, you can't wear tape on your arms when you're a pitcher. If you have a piece of jewelry that's dangling off your neck and distracting to the hitter can ask you as a pitcher, ask the umpire to have either you tuck it into your shirt or you remove it. We've seen that many times in the past. Polished buttons, glass buttons, things like that are not permitted. I'm not sure what's going on out there, though.
Well, this is one of the reasons why gamesmanship comes in, because this guy has been superlative, Chris, and you want every edge you can, and boy, he has had one whale of a season.
Well, no doubt about it. He probably feels naked out there, though, without that little mojo bracelet that he had on. I have no idea what it was. It looks like he was something made of leather that he had a cut off rather than rubber that he could pull off, so it's probably something he's worn for a long time. He's probably not very happy about it, and the Reds don't really care.
That's in there for a strike to Cozart. Cozart started it off in the first with a bouncing ground ball past the third baseman David Wright, and this time Wright's one step closer to the line from where he was last time. The double set up the first run for the Reds. Stubbs sacrificed him to third. Brandon Phillips singled to center, made it 1-0 Cincinnati.
I think if nothing else, you know, a little ticky-tack thing like that may make him a little frustrated. And you wouldn't think so, but I mean, because he's 38 years old, he's been around a long time. He's had some very big things happen in his career, both good and bad. But the Reds will take advantage of whatever they can, and second time Cozart's been on base.
So leadoff hitter on, here's Stubbs. Do you do it again? Sacrifice him to second?
Yeah, it worked the first time. Why not? I mean, he sacrificed him the third the last time. The only reason you might not is because Drew Stubbs is a hard guy to double up. So even if he does hit the ball on the ground, you still have a chance to have it turn into a fielder's choice rather than a double play.
He does have a good move to first, and of course it was legendary Charlie Huff's quote-unquote balk move to first. This is the knuckleballer with the Dodgers, huh?
Well, you don't use any legs in your delivery, so all you do is step and throw. So your release time is around 1 second, and the average release time is around 1.3, 1.4, and around that. So that half a second or even 1/3 of a second gives the runner at first base a big advantage.
Fastball at 82 miles an hour.
I mean, he shut down the running game very similar to what Johnny Cueto has. Cueto mainly because he's got a quick move to first. Dickey because he takes no time at all to unload the ball.
Kicks away. That'll get the runner to second. And that is a called strike 3. So Stubbs is retired. First out of the inning, but the runner gets to second in any event, and here comes Phillips. There you got a good view of why Dickey's knuckleballer is tougher. It comes much more rapidly than the average knuckleball to the catcher.
Well, it's not an easy pitch to catch, and if you look very closely at Josh Tolley's glove, you'll see that it resembles more of a first baseman's glove than it does a catcher's mitt. That's a big glove right there. That might be pushing the limits of the legal size a catchers are allowed to use. A catcher's mitt by definition is not allowed to be any bigger than 38 inches in circumference. So if you measure it from the very top of the catcher's mitt, like right about here, all the way down to the bottom of the hand where the hand goes in, it can't be any more than 15.5 inches long. That one looks like it's pretty big. If the Reds really want to get technical, they bring a little tape measure out there and ask the home plate umpire or Jim Joyce, the first base umpire, to take a measuring tape to it.
Now, most of the wild pitch and pass ball records are associated with knuckleballs, and as good as Tolle has been, he's battled this knuckleball this year.
17 of them. Pass balls, that is. There almost ought to be a different category for a pass ball from a knuckleball.
Handicap.
Than a pass ball from a regular pitcher.
It's called the knuckleball handicap.
Like catching a butterfly with tweezers.
Or using a 3-iron.
You know, the degree of difficulty about the same. You're right.
No balls, 2 strikes to Phillips. He got him. Back-to-back strikeouts. 2 strikeouts for Dickey, and he's had some monster strikeout games this year.
How about Brandon's reaction after this strikeout? There's the knuckleball. Tolle keeps his eyes on that ball. He's saying, please let me catch this. Kind of bounces around there, but Brandon drags that bat back to the dugout, kind of laughing, because, I mean, you can't take it too seriously.
Just before the Reds played the Mets in June, Dickey was on an unbelievable stretch starting on the 22nd of May. He struck out 11, 10, 9, 8, 12, 13, and 10. That's amazing. Player of the month in the month of June after those statistics. He had a 5-0 record and an earned run average of under 1, 0.93.
I wondered, though, George, would you be tempted if you were Terry Collins and the Mets to put him on a 4-man or a 4-day rotation rather than a 5-day rotation? Now, he may not be the kind of knuckleballer you could do that for, because he does throw it harder. He puts more effort into it than most older knuckleballers used to, like Charlie Huff you brought up. But he's still only throwing seemingly 3/4 effort. So you give him 3 days off, and you ought to try to bring him right back. What do you think about a whole pitching staff full of knuckleballers?
And a whole catching staff of different guys.
Sure.
Swing and a miss, and he strikes out the side. Ludwig strikes out. That's 3 strikeouts in the inning. The Reds get a runner, nothing to show for it. Baxter due up when we return. I'd like to welcome Reds fans from the University of Cincinnati as tonight's special guest on the Fan Express to Reds Country. For more information how you and your group can get on the Fox Sports Ohio Fan Express to Reds Country, call 513-765-7600 or visit reds.com/Fan Express. We got to get JD on that bus. He's been every place else in Cincinnati.
He's been under the bus too.
Yes. He's starting to steal your line from you, though.
Took him long enough.
Slow learner. Here's Mike Leake going to work in the fourth. 9 up, 9 down so far for this right-hander out of San Diego by way of Arizona State.
6 of the 9 outs for Mike Leake in the air, which is really the opposite of what you would expect out of Leake. He's been predominantly a ground ball pitcher since really pitching in college, but especially here in the major leagues where they track that. About 63% of his outs come by way of the ground ball rather than fly ball, but it's been different for him tonight.
That's a quick strike one to Mike Baxter, who flied to left first time up. On the scoreboard, the Dodgers lead the Pirates 2-1 in the third at Pittsburgh.
Clayton Kershaw.
The Reds victory, the Pirate loss means the Reds start tonight 6 games ahead in the National League Central. Cubs beat Houston 7-2. Colorado over Milwaukee 7-6. Phillips off his glove, won't make a play on it. It'll be an infield hit for Baxter, the first hit for the Mets. The one thing we can tell you from that Pirate game is one of their key leaders and best players, Neil Walker, injured his wrist on this play as he tumbled and making that play at second base. Had to leave the game, taken off the field. We don't have a report on it. Came after he made the throw and tumbled to the ground, jammed that right wrist into the ground. I hope the news is not bad. We hope it's okay. What a great young man he is. An outstanding local product in the Pittsburgh area, and he's become a leader in that clubhouse. Here's Tejada batting second tonight. Fly to right first time up.
Leake is not an easy guy to steal on either. Very quick, good move to first base, as you saw right there. He's given up 7 stolen bases. Devin Mesoraco has thrown out 5. So he's good at keeping guys close. He's thrown 10 ground ball double plays. Of course, when he's looking for a ground ball, it's always nice to have that guy at first base one step closer.
Baxter off the bag. Tejada digs in. Runner not going. Pitch misses down and in for ball 1. Tejada peeks at Tim Tuffle, the third base coach for the Mets, former outstanding major league second baseman and longtime minor league coach and manager for the Mets. And Tom Goodwin, the former major league outfielder, down at first. Goodwin runs the outfielders and the running game for the Mets and Terry Collins. Tejada, pretty good bunter, will go the other way too. So not a bad guy to hit and run with. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Well, now they're even in that count. Mike Leake thought he got the short end of a call early in the count that he thought was a strike down low, and Tejada probably thought that one was high.
A step in front of the bag at third, still cautious of a possible bunt from Tejada. Loop to right, over comes Bruce. Will he get there? No, it'll kick off the grass, go against the wall, and it'll be first and third. He was shading him that way, but It was like a wedge shot right down the line. So it's 1st and 3rd, nobody out.
Yeah, kind of an unlucky situation there for Mike Leake. He makes a good pitch, and Tejada just gets it off and flips it right up in the air. A little, like you said, a little sand wedge shot. Spins away right there as it hits the edge of the grass from Jay Bruce. You make a good pitch, it doesn't always mean you'll have a good result.
So 1st and 3rd, here comes Murphy. Fly ball to left, first time up. The runner stops. They'll turn 2. And waiting just a moment was Baxter at first. And then when he saw the play go to second, he broke to the plate and will score. So a double play. The Reds get 2 outs out of it. We're back in an even Steven game, 1-1.
Well, at this point in the ball game, you're going to play the infield back, look for 2. Daniel Murphy does a nice job of rolling over on a fastball on the outer part of the plate, hitting it right to the shortstop. So he'll get a double play ball. No RBI, but the Mets push 1 across and tie the game up. Well, that's really odd to see, too, because the Mets are the one ball club in the National League that swings at fewer first pitches than anybody else. They've swung at about 400 fewer first pitches than the Cincinnati Reds had. Reds are among the league leaders. And here you have a situation where, you know, you have a chance to work the count. You've got the pitcher kind of on the ropes, 1st and 3rd, nobody out, and you go up there hacking at the first pitch, take a bad swing out of it. They turn 2 and you get 1.
1 ball, 1 strike to right, who bounced to short. There's a liner. Cozart's got it. But the Mets get an infield hit and a single. The double play scores it. We're tied at 1. Reds Live, presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing on Fox Sports Ohio. Everything you want. If you're watching today, you saw the interview that Chris did with R.A. Dickey. You were the first to hear that Scott Rowland was back in the lineup, and you heard from the Reds' 3rd baseman. That is Reds Live pregame, presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing, and it's only on your exclusive home for the Reds. Hey, cheer on your Reds this Friday when they take on the Cubs at Great American Ballpark. Stick around after the game. Enjoy a spectacular postgame fireworks show presented by Corson Fire and Security. For tickets to see the Reds and the Cubs, call 513-381-REDS. Visit select Kroger locations or Reds.com. There's Jay Bruce, flied to right first time up in his career, 1 for 7 against Dickey. Line to left, that drops for a base hit. Leadoff hitter on for the Reds. Last night the Reds had the leadoff hitter on 4 of the first 6 innings, but couldn't score. And so far tonight, 3 of the first 4 innings they get the leadoff hitter on.
You know, it's kind of interesting standing around the batting cage, listening to Brooke Jacoby and Dusty Baker talk to the hitters while they're taking batting practice. And one thing that Dusty Baker says to all these guys, and some more than others, is keep your head down. And he explained to me today that he thought that's one thing that Jay Bruce does poorly when he's in a slump. He kind of pulls his head up, not necessarily just flies wide open, but if your head moves 2 or 3 inches up, you lose a lot of your power, you lose your ability to watch the baseball. But he doesn't move his head up here. Watch him stay right on the baseball. And that may be a sign that Jay Bruce, that slump that seemed to be so prolonged, may be over for good.
Short lead for Bruce down at first. Here's Roland. And Chris, we've seen it ever since he was in the minor leagues. I mean, he can be white hot and he can be ice cold. His goal and the goal of Brooke Jacoby and Dusty Baker is to even out the slumps, not let them be so pronounced. But when he's on it, he can carry a ball club. Roland doubled first time up, his 11th of the year. Knuckleball drops in there for a strike. 3 balls and 1 strike. That double, now 511 in his career. That moved him out of the tie with Rickey Henderson and ties him with Mark Grace for 47th on the all-time list. Oh, the swipe tag by Ike Davis is a good one. Bruce is leaning down to the bag, not diving towards it. We talked about the quick hands and sure hands of Davis. Here's a great example.
Well, he's not going anywhere. I mean, he's not stealing on this pitch. He's definitely out. That's the advantage of having a left-handed throwing first baseman. You get that swipe tag like Davis put on him, or wouldn't you know it?
Roland drills this one to left, going back. That's not a double. It's a dinger. Scott Rowland rips his 6th homer of the year, 28 runs batted in, and showing no ill effects after his time on the DL. He drills this, and the Reds have the lead again, 2-1.
Boy, oh boy, Jay Bruce gets a couple of days off, comes back and hits 2 home runs. Scott Rowland takes 5 days off with a bad back, comes back and hits a double, and then a bomb into the second deck. Or way up there in the first deck. Looked like it was headed to the second deck.
Nice swing. Frazier sends this to center. Going back, Torres. Guess what? That's long gone. Wow! Off the top of the facade, Todd Frazier delivers. Man, oh man, what a bomb from Frazier. We've seen him hit homers, Chris, but this is a big boy blast. 15 for Frazier. 3-1 Reds.
Boy, that had to feel so good because he just got that right on the screws.
Man, oh man.
That ball nearly went into the party deck.
Yep.
Up there. I'm not sure what it hit off of. Love to see the replay of that. That's a tape measure shot.
You ask, you shall receive.
Way up there on that batter's eye.
All you can do is smile after a swing like that, huh?
Whereas Brandon Phillips said, well, if he gave you a good one, you'd have struck out like me.
That was just about the same pitch that Brandon struck out on right off his shoot top.
Oh, you never really know. I mean, you take a good hack at it, you hope you get it.
As Hirako does it. That's strikeout number 4.
You know, Dickey's been pretty stingy with home runs this year. In fact, he has only twice this year given up more than 1 home run in a ball game. Once tonight and once way back in April at Atlanta, where he had a horrible outing, 4 innings of 8-run baseball. By far, that was his worst outing of the year.
When he first started to work with the knuckleball and really couldn't control it and was forced to throw the fastball, in one game he gave up 6 home runs back in 2006.
Well, he was a conventional pitcher back then. In fact, he was a conventional pitcher when the Rangers drafted him #1 out of the University of Tennessee. And he went down to get a medical exam after his draft. They were going to offer him $810,000 to sign. And when they took an MRI of his elbow, they found out there was no ulnar collateral ligament in his elbow. None. The doctors told him, you know, you really shouldn't even be able to open a doorknob, much less throw a pitch. So we can't possibly give you the kind of money that we were talking about now that you didn't pass your exam. So they reduced the offer from $810,000 down to $75,000. And he said, I'll take it. I want a chance to pitch in the major leagues. And he worked his way up through the minor league system as a regular style pitcher. Fastball, slider, changeup, so on. Came up through the major leagues, got beat around, was going to be released. And that's when he made the change.
Worked out good for Dickey through his career. Worked out great for the Reds in this inning. 357 feet from Rowland. 474 feet from Frazier. 3-1 Reds. It's Miller time, brought to you by Miller Lite. A lot of stuff happening here, Chris, but how about King Felix in Seattle? The first perfect game in the history of the Seattle Mariners. You see the number on his back, 34 years of Mariners baseball. Number 34 got the perfect game. You know, the way he pitches, surprising it took him this long.
Yeah, you're right about that. He was dominant, had the slider. They had it on the scoreboard here during the Mets batting practice. In fact, all the Mets stood aside and they watched that. Then they watched the celebration. So this year has been pretty much a perfect year for perfect games. Philip Humber against Seattle back in April. Then Matt Cain did it for the Giants. And today, Felix Hernandez joins the list. King Felix.
Congratulations, Felix Hernandez. A brilliant pitching performance from a brilliant pitcher and a fine young man as well. While that was being shown on the scoreboard here, right after it concluded, we went downstairs to talk to the umpires, as we do most every night. And of course, in this umpiring crew, behind the plate tonight is James Hoy, young umpire. Dan Iasonia's out at second. Jimmy Reynolds is over at third, and over at first is Jim Joyce. And you know Jim Joyce's story. He was the umpire at first base when Armando Galarraga had a perfect game going, and he called the play safe when clearly the replay showed it was the final out of the ball game. And I tell you, Chris, he handled it better than anybody you could ever imagine. If it was to happen to anybody, Jim Joyce handled it the best that you possibly could. He's been a man about it from the beginning. And I walked in and I said, Felix Hernandez just threw a perfect game. And Jim looked at me and said, you can't say perfect if you come into this umpiring room. I told my wife, never say perfect again in this house. He handled it well, didn't he?
He's a good guy, and he's a very good umpire. He's been rated by the players along the years as one of the best umpires out there.
Yep.
And that's why the whole baseball world, you know, you kind of felt sympathetic towards Jim Joyce rather than angered, because, you know, you're out there trying to make the call the best you can. He missed the call. He said that. In fact, he even wrote a book saying the title of which is Nobody's Perfect.
On hopper from Phillips from the outfield grass. He throws out Ike Davis, and there's one away in the fifth. It goes as a 4-3 putout. This play a lot tougher than it looks. Hit the edge of the grass, took a crazy hop, and Phillips gets him by half a step. That's the shortstop arm that bails him out so many times, doesn't it? Man.
You need a right fielder's arm from there.
Wow. We see it from him almost every night. Something special. So one away. No one on this umpiring crew has been part of a perfect game. A couple have been. None of these umpires have been behind the plate for a no-hitter. A couple have been on no-hit crews. I remember talking to Jim Joyce after that incident with the Tigers, and you tell your kids this all the time, Chris, and so many people mention it to him because of the way he handled it. It's not so much about what happens to you in life, it's about how you react to what happens to you in life. And he made other umpires proud and made his family proud by the way he handled that very difficult situation. Stand-up guy and a good umpire too. That misses. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Here's the play at first, Chris. Galarraga, ball, give me the ball, give me the ball. He gets it, taps the bag, and I got it, but
Boy, look at the look of disbelief.
Broken bat. Wow, what a play. Frazier shovels it to Leake. A dandy. Oh, it's rubbing off on him, huh? You play enough next to Brandon Phillips, you think I can do it too.
Well, he's a versatile player. One day he's playing third base. The other day he's playing first base. Sometimes he plays left field early in the year. He just makes a nice little play right there, scoops it up. That big first baseman's meant like a highlight cesta.
Brandon saying, what are you doing? Trying to take my thunder? 2 away, and here comes Andres Torres. Torres, of course, was the center fielder for the Giants last year. He was traded for Angel Pagan in the offseason. In a day of news, another San Francisco outfielder makes news today, and not good news, Chris. Melky Cabrera slapped with a 50-game suspension after testing positive for a banned substance, which we understand was testosterone. So Cabrera will be out for 50 games. That will put him past the end of the regular season. We'll talk more about that when we return. A 1-2-3 inning for Leake. Not an easy one, but it's 1-2-3. coverage begins on tomorrow as the Bengals take on Matt Ryan and the Falcons. And on Friday, Matt Stafford and the Lions head to Baltimore to square off against Ray Lewis and the Ravens. Coverage of both games begins at 8 o'clock Eastern, only on Fox. Back to work go the Reds. Top of the order. Cozart's up for the third time. A double and a walk in his 2 plate appearances. Doubled in the first, sacrificed to third by Stubbs, and then scored on a Brandon Phillips base hit. That gave the Reds their first run. Hit pretty good to left. Going back, looking up. Valdespin, it's off the wall. Rounding first, going to second. It'll be the 27th double for Cozart, and his 3rd double of the last 2 nights here at Great American Ballpark.
Well, such an even-keeled young man Zach Cozart is. That's a good-looking swing right there. He was on base 3 times last night. He's been on base 3 times tonight with a couple of doubles and a walk sandwiched in between. R.A. Dickey not used to having nights like this.
But Cozart in scoring position. Here's Stubbs. We'll see if they'll duplicate it. Tries to bunt. He gets drilled in the back.
They're calling a foul ball.
Did it hit the bat and the back? It got both of them, but they say it hit the bat.
Even if it didn't hit the bat, if you're attempting the bunt at it and it misses the bat, it's still a strike. It does get the bat. Looks like it got on the fingers. It got him anywhere.
Right at the base of the bat.
A little slow motion air guitar.
Bruce Springsteen special. Almost out of the batter's box, but it's a foul ball, and it's 0-2. Stubbs sacrificed first time up, struck out looking second time up. Cozart, good speed out at second. 2 young guys who have done well for their teams this year. Cozart and Tejada, the 2 shortstops on these 2 clubs. Both have been outstanding. Misses inside, 2-2. Got him. 6 strikeouts for Dickey, 1 away. Hey, follow Fox Sports Ohio's coverage of the Cincinnati Reds with the MLB.com @BAT12 app for your iPhone, iPad, Android, and Windows Mobile. Get live audio, pitch tracking, video highlights, and more. Text @BAT to 31826 or visit Reds.com for details. Here comes Brandon with a runner in scoring position. His single to center plated the first run for the Reds. In addition to that Seattle win, 1-0 over Tampa Bay with a perfect game by Felix Hernandez in the American League. Max Scherzer was the winner, as Detroit beat Minnesota 5-1 this afternoon. Underway tonight at Baltimore, the Red Sox lead the Orioles 2-0 in the 5th. Joining the Mets today from Boston, was Kelly Shopping, who has most recently been a backup catcher with the Red Sox. The words of Kelly when he came to the clubhouse: so when I left Boston, half the clubhouse came up and said, "Good luck, wish we were going with you," the way things are going now. They've had an ugly time of it in Beantown.
Well, yeah, not only are they underachieving up there, they've got all sorts of internal struggle. They are just topsy-turvy in Beantown. You're right. 12.5 games back of the Yankees.
One ball, 2 strikes.
Some of the players recently text the owner of the ball club and then had a secret meeting, the players with the owner, to talk about how they didn't like the manager. I mean, man, oh man, you talk about things unraveling there. There are more than a few people that said, or are saying right now, I told you so.
Here's the 1-2. Tell you, this brings up a lot of points. One is that for everything that went on, what is going on this year in Boston isn't much different than what went on for a number of years. But Terry Francona quieted a lot of things that never became public, and a lot of those things have become public this year. He had a manner and a way of dealing with things to keep them quiet, much like Joe Torre did in New York. Difficult thing to do. Nubbed into left, blooping. Here's Valdespin. He'll get there and haul it in for the second out. And here comes Ryan Ludwig, who bounced into a double play and struck out. What city was named one of the top 3 places to visit in 2012? Cincinnati. Book your weekend getaway at CincinnatiUSA.com. The Cozart still sitting at second. A leadoff double, nothing to show for it so far. That's going to kick all the way to the backstop. Going to third will be Cozart. So the Reds advance another runner. Fastball charged to Tolley.
You think you'd ever see in a really tight ball game an R.A. Dickey on the mound, and that runner at third base could be the winning run against the Mets? I mean, why wouldn't you bring in the right fielder to play behind the catcher?
You have to have 8 players in fair territory.
You're right about that. Good point.
Good idea, though.
Yeah.
Oh-2. Who do you think would have thought of doing that first?
Bill Beck.
Yeah, that's right.
Of course, the only time they really call that play is about having players in fair territory is when a first baseman's holding a runner on.
Yep.
He's got to have his feet in fair territory. Can't be in foul territory and be considered a legal player.
Ludwig disposed of for the second time. 7 strikeouts. But the Reds, with the back-to-back homers from Bruce and Roland last inning, still lead 3-1.
extended highlights. You'll hear from the manager before anyone else. It's Reds Live presented by King's Honda and the King's Auto Mall. Jim Day with you in Reds Country. Not only excited about this team and the future, they're excited about a future that may represent Billy Hamilton in a Reds uniform. He is the national cover boy this week as Mike Leake goes to work here. Now, he is chasing a record that has stood since 1983, the all-time minor league record for steals, set by Vince Coleman in '83 with 145 steals. Well, Hamilton came into the night only 7 steals shy of that record, of breaking that record. Well, tonight, first at bat, he walked, stole second, stole third. So he needs 5 more steals in 19 games, which includes the rest of tonight's game that he's playing, and he will have the all-time record as Stubbs makes the first out of the inning. As we throw back upstairs to the Champion Windows broadcast booth, many fans have wondered, when the rosters expand in September, do you want to put Billy Hamilton on the 40-man, bring him up as a stolen base expert, if you will, in September? That question looms, but of course that'll count against his contract in the future as well. But Billy Hamilton, there's not a faster guy in baseball, they say, right now.
And you wonder, Chris, if you're in a tight pennant race at that time, one run can make a big difference. Take last night, for instance. Late in the game, in a scoreless game, you put him in there after a walk or a leadoff hit. Dickey sends us down to third. What do you think?
Well, what you want to do with September call-ups is make your team stronger down the stretch. Put some players up here that aren't just going to be sitting around on the bench taking up other guys' batting practice time. Somebody who can help you. And a designated runner like that in a certain situation could be very valuable.
JD, you saw him a lot in spring training. He was impressive, wasn't he?
He really is, and he's an impressive young man as well. He's got a good head on his shoulders. They say he works very, very hard. He's obviously trying to work on his defense. He has a lot of errors, at shortstop, but he's worked on his average. He's hitting for average, stealing bases, obviously. The question is, with Zach Cozart out there, are they going to move him to the outfield? Could he be a center fielder in the future? I think that's one of the biggest questions remaining for Hamilton.
Thanks, JD. Great job, and a great job too. Delano DeShields herded him through. Ken Griffey Sr. Now Jimmy Riggleman has him in Pensacola. You couldn't have 3 better guys to help teach you how to play the game the right way. The youngster out of Taylorsville, Mississippi, and we're going to see him, whether it's in September or not. Certainly next year you're going to get a look at him. If you can play, they'll find a place to play. Swing and a miss. Baxter retired. 1-2-3 for Leake. Reds lead 3-1. Leake's been great. To Take the Central this year, you can be a part of all the action with the Take the Central ticket deal, starting as low as $25. You can see your Reds take on the Cubs this weekend, or the Cards on August the 24th through the 26th, and bundle it with a Pirates game in September. That's 2 great games for as low as $25. Visit Reds.com/Central for details. Start of play today, the Reds had a 6-game lead over Pittsburgh, 7 over St. Louis, and 17.5 over Milwaukee. Not backing out of play. The Brew Crew today, losers to Colorado 7-6. They're on their way home to take on the Phillies. Right now it's 7-5. The Pirates have come back to take a lead. Here's a big shot to right, going way back. Guess what? The Beaumont Bomber does it again. Chris, you said it looked like his at-bats were more impressive the last 2 nights. That's about as impressive as you get.
Well, a lot of it is confidence. You know, when you start spiraling downward and you don't get hits, you leave runners on base, and you look bad doing it, you wonder if you're ever going to hit another ball hard. But for Jay Bruce, he took a couple of days off. Dusty Baker gave him time off in Chicago. He responded with a home run there on Sunday. Had a home run here last night. They won the ball, or the other night, Tuesday, last night. Won the ball game, opposite field 3-run bomb, and that one was way back up there in the moon deck. Let's take a look at this Mazda pitch by pitch. It didn't take long for Jay Bruce to negotiate a little knuckleball a long, long way. Found one off, found one he liked, and R.A. Dickey looking for a new baseball because that one's not coming back.
Nice catch.
Well, they had some tape measure shots tonight. That last one by Jay Bruce measured at 428. The one by Todd Frazier, 470 feet.
428, a big bomb. Jay went 4 straight games with homers in April. This is the 2nd time this year that he's had homers in 3 straight games. Yep, he's hot again. Here's Rolen, who homered last time up. Now, you said it when the night began that you may see some long ball today, the way the air is dispersed around Great American Ballpark. Ba-boom from Bruce. Swing and a miss. Rolen retired. Scott had doubled and homered, so he's retired for the first time. Now 8 strikeouts for R.A. Dickey. And here's Frazier. Todd homered last time up. Talk about a big boy shot. 474 feet. That gave the Reds a 3-1 lead. Speaking of home run streaks, we talked about the great series he had in New York, and that May series against the Mets. He had his first 2 home run game in New York in front of the home folks. That's certainly one of the highlights of his young career.
Well, those home folk that couldn't make it to this series are probably all crammed around the TV, watching him pick up not only a 470-foot home run, but a bouncer up the middle for his 2nd knock of the game.
And it is somewhat apropos. You know, Sean Casey told us when he was here, it's Frazier's wearing Casey's old number 21. I hadn't really given it to anybody since Casey left. And there is a similarity to the way those two are, Chris. I mean, they're ball players. They love the game. They've dedicated themselves to being the best possible teammates they could be. You couldn't have a better guy wearing number 21 than Todd Frazier.
Non-stop talkers.
Yep. He's going to miss not being. I mean, the Reds are looking forward to getting Joey back at first, but he kind of enjoys talking to people over there.
Well, you know, you really wonder what Dusty Baker's going to do. I mean, you just get Scott Rolen back on the lineup tonight. He's been outstanding, a double and a home run. Todd Frazier's been swinging a hot bat. You know, you've got one of these situations with your Dusty Baker that managers rarely find themselves having this problem of too many good players for the number of positions that you have. where normally managers looking for just somebody out there that can put the ball in play. And he took off running and stole second base. Frazier did, really before R.A. Dickey committed. He looked over to first, looked away, and that's when Frazier took off.
So he gets a stolen base. Mesoraco strikes out. 9th strikeout for Dickey. Mesoraco walked, struck out, struck out. Hey, Reds fans, August is National Sandwich Month, so celebrate it with JTM's quick and delicious meatball sub kits. Pick up a bag today. That's JTM. Leak trying to bun his way on, pops it foul. Go back to what you're saying about Dusty in the lineup. That's the, when you got too many people, it's a curse and a blessing. And as you get down to crunch time, you want someone to put into the lineup who can produce. And wherever they put Todd Frazier, he's produced. Third, first, outfield. Ripped towards the corner. That's going to get a run in. They'll hold at first. Mike Leake delivers a rocket into the corner. Tack another one on for the Reds. It's 5-1.
Now, Mike Leake has not had a whole lot of run support on the season. He's getting some runs tonight, but he's also going to help himself. R.A. Dickey's knuckleball is really rolling up there tonight, not just rotating 1/4 of a turn the way he described it before the ball game as the perfect knuckleball. It's making like 2 or 3 revolutions, and that ball is not just knuckling around like it normally does. Leake jumps on a high one, 5-1 now. A couple old teammates standing next to each other down there at first base.
2 pretty good friends that have supported each other all the way. And when you talk to him then, and Chris, you remember the night when we drafted Mike Leake. It was that night we were in Washington. We talked to him on the phone. And I remember he said that night, he said, you know, I pitch pretty well, and we've got a pretty good program here at Arizona State. In fact, we got a bunch of guys that are going to play in the major leagues. Referring, and he mentioned Ike Davis, and he sure was right. Leake delivers a run-scoring hit. The Reds lead at 5-1, and where'd the other run come from? Number 24 for Jay Bruce. Baboon. 5-1 Reds. On Fox Sports Ohio, being brought to you by JTM Food Group, creating great dishes together with the food service industry for over 30 years. By your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealers. For over 30 Toyota offers available now, visit buyatoyota.com, including mobile. And by AT&T, the nation's largest 4G network. AT&T, rethink possible. Not the night you would expect from number 43. R.A. Dickey's had a brilliant year. Tonight, not one of those brilliant nights, Chris.
No, certainly not. He's not used to giving up the kind of home runs that he has given up tonight. 3 home runs, several doubles on top of that. That ties the most home runs he's given up all year long, going way back to April. So it's been a tough, humid night for R.A. Dickey. And, you know, you ask yourself, you know, what can your Reds ball club do to help your own guy on his way to pursuing the Cy Young Award? Well, you play good defense behind him, right? You get him wins like they have Johnny Cueto so far, 15 of them. And you beat up on the pitchers that he's going up against. And R.A. Dickey certainly in contention. He's going to see his earned run average go up marginally, not that much after giving up just 5 runs. But you hang a loss on him and it comes down to 1 or 2 little factors on that Cy Young Award race. It could be a game like today that would put Cueto over the edge, at least over the edge, and compared to R.A. Dickey.
A whole host of great candidates for the Cy Young at this point. The ERA for Dickey now would go up to 2.89 from where it was. There's a looping hit into right center. That's a base hit. We'll show it to you one more time. Johnny Cueto, R.A. Dickey. You know, they're at the top of the list. Certainly Gio Gonzalez has had a brilliant year for the Nationals, who have the best record in the league, and 2 great closers, Aroldis Chapman and Craig Kimbrell.
Now, of course, the closers have their own award. But
there are special years.
If you're good enough as a closer and if you dominate enough, why wouldn't you win the Cy Young Award?
And, you know, it's nice to talk about it right now, but Chris, I mean, we've been through this so often, so many years. This is when the Cy Young Award, the MVP and the Rookie Year of the Year award really comes to fruition. It's the final 6 weeks of the season. You could lead at the All-Star break, you could lead in August, but who's in a pennant race? Who produces under pressure? Who comes through when their team needs it in those final weeks of the season? And then the vote comes by the Baseball Writers Association of America right after the regular season ends. So how those pitchers do, how those rookies do, how those hitters do from here on out, that'll determine who the winners will be.
I agree, George, and a lot of it has to do, obviously, if you're playing on a winning team. I mean, it's very tough to win an award, whether it's MVP or Cy Young, if you are playing on a team that's not winning anything. You're playing, you know, non-relevant games down the stretch. And that's one thing that may be going against R.A. Dickey.
Yep.
I mean, essentially in New York, this Mets team has become non-relevant. Football has started up. There's all sorts of talk about the football teams in New York. The Yankees are 6 games up in the National or the American League East.
Popped up by Murphy. In comes Ludwig, and there's one away. Time for our AT&T trivia. Who was the last Reds pitcher to finish second in the Cy Young voting? The last Reds pitcher to finish second in the Cy Young voting. Marty Brennaman comes into the booth to say hi, and I think we both remember '88. He should have won the Cy Young.
The guy who stole it from him in the last one.
Oral Hershiser. He had the streak of scoreless games, and what happens? Scoreless hitting streak for Oral Hershiser, but if you talk about who meant more, Danny Jackson meant more to the Reds that year.
Yeah, and I think everybody conceded that Danny was going to win the award, and then all of a sudden the consecutive scoreless inning streak started, and Oral just ran away. But you're right. As far as the most valuable of the two to his specific club, there's no question it was Danny Jackson.
We're talking about Rookie of the Year, too. We all remember '99. Preston Wilson maybe had a better year, but Scott Williamson was in a pennant race and got saves for the Reds when they needed it. He won the Rookie of the Year award that year. By the way, Mr. Hall of Famer,
yes,
that was brilliant what you did. It was, I mean, it was tremendous the way you handled the whole haircut incident, but what was more important was the way you brought the city together, as you always have.
Well, you know, it was one of those things, George, outside of the game itself. That's the greatest night I've ever spent in the ballpark. And it all had to do with those sweet children from the Cincinnati Children's Hospital Medical Center and the job that great foundation, the Dragonfly Foundation, is doing for those kids. You know, I'm not easily and emotionally locked up when it comes to tears.
Your voice was breaking.
The little kids,
Yeah.
that separates everything else.
And you told, can you make it public? You told us something yesterday that's very impressive about what you're going to be doing with them.
Well, I'm going to be a spokesman for them. John Burns called me yesterday and said, would you do it? I said, I'd be thrilled to death to do it. It's just something that occurred. They asked me to wear the T-shirt that said, I'm still me. You know, you think about these little sweet children, too young to understand what's going on and battling a terrible disease. And because of the medication, they lose their hair, and automatically other kids look at them because they're different. And, you know, that's a tough thing for them to deal with. And it's wonderful that an organization like the Dragonfly Foundation is doing what they can to increase public awareness and also to give these kids a measure of self-respect.
Hall of Famer is nice, but you're better than that. Thank you, man.
That was a big night for me.
Thank you, man.
That was a great night, Marty.
Chris, I didn't come to see you. I came to see George.
Thank you.
We're honored. By the way,
Good, you cleared that
it's
up.
growing
8 o'clock
back.
tea time Monday.
It's growing back pretty good.
Yeah, it's growing back. It ain't growing back fast enough.
Must be feeding us something. Maybe.
Thanks, Marty. Great to have him back. What a great night that was, Chris.
Really was. I mean, to have your hair shorned off in front of 40,000 plus people, but to be able to raise the kind of money that he did, which was tremendous. It was a whole, you're right, George, it was a whole city and community effort. And then, of course, to have Charlie Sheen match the 50,000 that they raised prior to the haircut with a donation of his own to the Reds Community Fund. Boy, oh boy.
Pretty neat night.
Amazing.
David Wright strikes out. That's 3 for Leake. Here's Ike Davis, who bounced to second twice. The hot after the base hit, still down at first. I mean, we joke about it all the time that, I mean, this is the greatest game in the world, just to cover baseball, be a part of it. But to be a part of the group that we have here, I mean, our crew here on Fox Sports, the crew around the ballpark, those that are associated with Reds baseball, I mean, we've been pretty lucky for 20 years, man. Pretty lucky.
No doubt about that.
2 balls, 1 strike. Five runs, 10 hits for the Reds. A run, 3 hits for the Mets. Here's the 3-1 to Davis. On the corner. Guy to the left side, rolling going back. Ludwig was pulled way over. He's the only one that has a chance, and he's got it. Good job by the Gold Glover tracking it down the left field line. Mets strand the runner. Reds still lead 5-1. Stubbs due up. Ballpark Sunday, August 26th. The first 8,000 kids 14 and younger receive a Kids Gapper Cup courtesy of Frisch's. And make sure you take advantage of the Meyer ticket deal and see your Reds take on the Cardinals at half price. For tickets, call 513-381-REDS or visit reds.com/family. Some restrictions do apply. 5-10-0 for the Reds. 1-3-0 for the Mets. If you joined us late, the Reds took a 1-0 lead in the first. Cozart a double, sacrificed by Stubbs to third. Phillips base hit, 1-0 Cincinnati. Mets tied it on a double play with a runner at third off the bat of Daniel Murphy. 1-1 in the fourth. And the Reds have played home run baseball. Homer by Rowland made it 2-1. Homer by Frazier made it 3-run. Homer by Bruce made it 4-1. And then a single by Leake made it 5-1. That's where we are. New pitcher facing Drew Stubbs, Chris.
Jeremy Hefner, 6'4" right-hander from Perkins, Oklahoma. And he gets greeted with a Texan going back through the middle.
So for R.A. Dickey, 6 innings, 10 hits, 5 earned runs, 9 strikeouts and 2 walks for R.A. Dickey on this day.
You know, we said this about the Reds when they played the Houston Astros, when they played the Rockies, when they played the Colorado, or when they played the Chicago Cubs. Well, here you have the Reds. They're playing as a team for a team goal right now.
Stubbs safe at second with a stolen base. So he's in scoring position.
Which is, you know, continue to win, to continue to pad your lead in the National League Central Division. And you're playing a team like the Mets that is really, they're all confused right now. They don't know whether they're in a rebuilding process. They don't know if they're going to sign some of their players to extensions. Some of these guys are playing for salary drives for next year. Some are hoping to be in the major leagues next year, hoping to show what time they have here that they're really ready for prime time action. And it shows. This is kind of a coordinated effort the Reds are putting on them, batter by batter, and you just don't see that same kind of thing happening on the other side of the field. Jeremy Hefner, first-year player, 18 games now. He's probably thinking, well, I need to pitch well if I want to be in the big leagues next year.
Here's Brandon, singled in a run, struck out, flied out.
You don't get that feeling from any of the Reds players right now. Their goal is, I'm not worried about what I'm going to do next year, get an extension, whatever it is, be in the big leagues. I'm going to win this ball game because this is a special team, and we think that we can go into the postseason and we can go into the World Series and so on. And that's the mindset of those guys that you see in that dugout. I think it really makes a difference when you play teams that are not in contention down the stretch.
Did he go around? He did. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Doesn't mean that you can't be shut down by a good pitching performance, but overall, I mean, you grind it out in a different way when you're in a pennant race than when you're just kind of playing out the string.
You saw Justin Turner at second, and Murphy moves to first on the right side of that infield for the Mets. From the stretch, Hefner. I remember, Chris, last year, the last week of the season, when we did as we've done for the last 5 years, sat down with Jay Bruce and Joey Votto, who've done it since they were minor leaguers. And Joey was very poignant and right to the point, saying, I never want to go through a September like this again. This came after they won in 2010, and they were out of it in 2011. Once you taste that, you don't want to lose that taste. From a positive standpoint, 2010, and you never want to get the sour taste back. Nice catch down the right field line. Brandon has lifted that in the second half of the season. Over 300 with runners in scoring position again. Down to third, knocked down by Wright. The Gold Glover's long throw in time. David Wright has 2 Gold Gloves, and that's a reason why right there.
Well, he's a premier player on this ball club. There's no question about it. He's a leader. They've got him signed through next year. They're contemplating an extension for David Wright, and he can play it on both sides. Good, solid hitter. You just really wonder what kind of numbers he could put up in a ballpark that's a little bit more advantageous to hitters. And if he's surrounded by more hitters in the lineup.
They have pulled the fences in New York. It's still a cavernous ballpark. One away. Runner still at second. And here's Ludwig. Ryan bounced into a double play. Struck out. Struck out. To an 0 to the Reds left fielder. Right down the middle, and there's the first strike with a runner at second. Jay Bruce on deck. Tape measure homers tonight. One by Rowland, one by Frazier off the top of the batter's eye in center field, and another one by Bruce to right field. Down to third, but foul. Under the glove of the third baseman Wright. Here comes Stubbs around third. He'll cruise home. And a rocket shot off the bat of Ludwig plates the 6th run for the Reds.
Well, that ball had so much topspin on it that you just kind of stab your glove down there and see what happens. And look at that way that ball hooks. That probably should have been caught by David Wright. He normally makes a play like that. In fact, he's looking at the scoreboard right now as they replay that shot on the big board just to see what happened. But that ball was just walloped by Ryan Ludwig. He's hit the ball hard for about a month and a half now.
325 over the last 45 games for that guy. He's taken an average that was under 200 and brought it up to 270. Here's Jay. Fly to center. Single to left. And then homer. Another look at one you always like to watch, Chris.
Well, you're not kidding about that. They go over 400 feet. They're worth watching over and over again. That's why we're making that one our Nissan drive of the game.
This Game 2 of the 3-game set. Tomorrow, Homer Bailey goes against the youngster Matt Harvey. Harvey, a world of promise, burst upon the scene this past month. The youngster will take the mound for the Mets tomorrow against Homer Bailey, who's been tremendous. Homer will go for his 11th win of the season. He's got his earned run average down to just about 4. And talk about a guy who's turned the corner big time. Homer Bailey has this year. 1-2. Dribble to the left side. They'll get one at second, on to first in time for the double play. So Bruce is doubled up. Tried to go the other way against the shift, but grounds into the twin killing. Reds get a run. Leake leads at 6-1. So far, Chris?
Well, you know, he's up by 5 and he's only given up 1 run. That was on back-to-back hits, and they scored on a ground ball double play back in the 4th inning. So Mike Leake has been outstanding. He did exactly so far tonight, George, what we talked about at the very onset, which is be aggressive in the strike zone early on. Don't start picking at the corners, getting yourself into hitters' counts. And he's taken advantage of a Mets ball club that has been shut out 3 times in the last 6 ball games. They've only scored 1 run tonight. And the Reds are right on a roll. Leake on the mound again for the 8th inning.
12 hits for the Reds, only 3 for the Mets. And still well in control in pitch count. 84 pitches so far for Mike Leake. Great to have you with us, George Grant, Chris Welsh, and our entire crew. Our producer down in the truck, Josh Hall, our director, Roy Alfers. Uncle Roy back in town. Lauren White dialing up some graphics for us. Matt Sigafus giving you a highlight view of today's ball game. Kent Weaver taking care of pre and post game show honors. Anthony DeMarco joining us tonight as our TD. Jim Crobe in audio. Joel Luckup dialing up some stats for us, especially on this busy day of Melky Cabrera's 50-game suspension if you joined us late, and Felix Hernandez and his perfect game for the Seattle Mariners if you didn't catch that one. And the inimitable Jesse Jackson in the booth. Chris, tomorrow's a special day.
Again for Jesse?
Jesse turns 39 again.
Nice. 3rd time this month.
Great to be back with our great crew of camera people too. Strick, you and the guys always do a great job, and Amy too. Great to be back in this ballpark with the best crew in baseball. And we can't forget about Howdy Browdy, John Browdy in the Fox box. Phillips has it. Our AT&T trivia question answer. Usually these are pretty tricky. This one we all got pretty quick. For one. But the most recent is another. Pete Shork in '95.
That's why they nicknamed him Cy.
Yep. What a great character, huh?
Well, he had one sensational year that year. All of a sudden, Shurek, I mean, his stuff went from 88 to 94 miles an hour. His curveball was working. His changeup was impeccable. His control was wonderful. Became a big-time, big-game pitcher.
There's Tolley. Fly it out, fly it out. Baseball was big, but with Pete Shork and Pete Harnish on that pitching staff, fantasy football might have been even bigger.
They did need a commissioner.
There's a line drive to left. Ludwig has it. He's on a roll, isn't he? Number 44 has been something else tonight. 6-1 through 8 innings. Football. High school football season just 8 days away. Join Fox Sports Ohio every Thursday night for the game of the week, featuring great area teams like Coleraine, Kings, Ryle, Indian Hill, and others from Southwest Ohio and Kentucky. Be here for the kickoff every Thursday night starting August the 23rd. Become an institution around here. Thursday night football on Fox Sports Ohio. Hope you join us all season long. Reds back to work with Scott Rowland to the plate. Rowland back after a stint on the sidelines with a achy breaky back. Has been breaking the back of the Mets today. He doubled in the second. Drilled a long home run to left to give the Reds the run they needed to take a lead 2-1 in the fourth. And struck out last time up. Quietly around baseball, people wondered when Joey Votto went down, how would the Reds handle it? When Scott Rowland went down, how would the Reds handle it? And through all of this, the Reds got what they needed, and that was for teammates to pick up teammates. Brandon Phillips moved into Votto's spot in the order. He's delivered. Rowland bounces one right back to the pitcher. And Hefner takes care of it, 1 away. And Jay Bruce said it last night in the post-game interview with Jeff Pecoro. If you're a team that's going to win, you need people to pick each other up, and the Reds have done that in the last month.
Well, they've really played as a team. I mean, this clubhouse, and I think Ryan Ludwig said it a couple weeks ago, that this got better chemistry than any team he's ever been on. And we've noticed it, George, really from the beginning. It takes a while to gel. You come out of spring training and there's about 60 guys on the field. Little by little, you whittle the roster down. But there hasn't been a lot of roster moves on this club. Now, there haven't been a lot of injuries. There have been some big injuries. Obviously, you lose Joey Votto for close to a month. That's a big injury. But the pitching staff has stayed pretty healthy. There hasn't been a lot of, trips back and forth to Louisville by 3 or 4 different guys, coming up and down and so on. So they've been able to get to know each other, to play as a unit. And I think that makes a big difference. This ball club has got a kind of a team focus. And it's something different than what we've seen. I think even way better than what they had in 2010.
Center field, he drills it, going back, 1 hop off the wall. Frazier round first, on to second. He's got a 2-base hit. And a night for Todd Frazier. A homer, a single, a double, and he's sitting at second.
Boy, he seems to save his best for his hometown team, the New York Mets. He had a 474-foot home run earlier. Hefner throws a breaking ball up around the letters. That's not a good place to throw it. Although the home run ball was down around the knees or even below. So Todd Frazier having one heck of a game. In fact, the home run that he hit earlier in the ball game, we are told now that that is the 4th longest home run hit this season in the major leagues.
Big swing by Mesoraco into center. Torres will close on it, and there's your second out. Devin walked, struck out, and that fly ball to center. Listen to the hand for Leake. How about this? Standing ovation for Mike Leake as he comes to the plate, and it's building. Gives you goosebumps, huh?
I'll tell you what, it makes you think that this is the kind of ball, this is the kind of place you want to come and play. For a crowd like this, for a fan base like this.
Strike 1 to Mike. Bounced out, struck out, singled in a run. Imagine what he felt like. I mean, I got goosebumps.
Yeah.
Josh Hamilton.
Probably thought I didn't know I had so many relatives.
Chris, we've talked to him about it, but Josh Hamilton still tells us one of the most emotional moments in his life was that opening day when he came to the major leagues with the Reds and was given a standing ovation as he was announced for the first time after all the struggles he went through. He said that took all the pressure off me because I knew I was welcomed by the fans in Cincinnati. He said, I'll never forget that. Wild pitch going to third is Frazier. Night started, the Reds 6 ahead of the Pirates, 7 ahead of the Cardinals. And Pittsburgh, they're now in the 7th. 9-2 Dodgers. Cards trail 1-0. Swing and a miss. Leake retired, but he's done his job on the mound. Frazier's done his job at the bat. Reds lead at 6-1. Our John Morrell hot dog plays of the night. Back-to-backers, Chris, Roland, and the big one.
Roland got one. I first thought that had a chance to get into the upper deck. It didn't, but it's still a long home run for Scott Roland. Fresh off the shelf, the temporary shelf, and then Todd Frazier dialing 8. 474 feet. Nearly gets up to the platform of the party deck. That is the 10th longest home run ever hit at Great American Ballpark, and he's still talking about it.
And for good reason. Big time swing from Todd Frazier, a big time night for the Reds offensively, and a big night for the guy on the mound too. Mike Leake has been superb on this night. A night when you went in talking about the Cy Young candidacy of a guy who's had a great year, R.A. Dickey. Exceptional young man. In addition to that, he's had an exceptional year pitching. But on this night, number 44 has been the story on the mound.
Well, the Reds already lead the National League in complete games. Everybody on this pitching staff has a complete game, every starter. Cueto and Latos each have 2. Mike Leake looking to join the Deuce Club himself here if he can finish off this 9th inning.
1 run, 3 hits for the Mets.
Got a man there.
Ozark. And Justin Turner's retired, 1 away. Pitches for Leake, and just in case, slowly working in the bullpen. Aroldis Chapman and Logan Andrusek are each loosening.
Yeah, I don't even think it's just in case, George. I think it's just a case of them needing to get a little throwing in, and they wanted to wait until now to do it.
Back to San Francisco, Chris, for complete game number 1 on June the 29th for Mike Leake.
He had a good game that night, and I'll tell you what, Mike Leake dealing tonight like he did that night. Nice to have Devin Mesoraco back off that 7-day concussion list. Back behind the plate handling Mike Leake tonight.
One out, 1 on, and here's Tejada. 2 hits, 2 for 3. Well, if you look at the Mets and say, what do they have going into next year? This is one guy who's really stepped it up this year. He's made himself a real factor at 22 years of age in the Mets' plans for the future. Out of Panama, he's taken charge of the shortstop's role.
And we talked about it a little bit last night. Just good short approach.
Now the Reds are blessed. Chris Spire is one of the best infield instructors in all of baseball, the bench coach for the Reds. A brilliant tactician and strategizer of the game of baseball as well. And the Mets are blessed too. Their third base coach, Tim Tuffle, great fundamental infielder. He's helped everyone in this infield. Tejada credits him. And Daniel Murphy, who's made the transition to second, says he's worked me like a dog, but he's made me a lot better this year. Tuffle was one of those guys who just played the position picture perfect, like Roland does at third. Timmy Tuffle was the same way at second. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Tejada hanging in there. Good year when you have great starting pitching. The Reds shooting for number 8. Runner going. The throw won't be nearly in time. Wild pitch in the dirt. A runner advances to second, erasing the double play possibility. But Baxter, with his second hit of the night, advances to second after the wild pitch. All 4 of the hits have come from these 2 spots in the order. 2 for Baxter and 2 for Tejada. Center field, drifting back. Stubbs there. He's got it. 2 away. $26,000 last night, 26,000 tonight. They're on their feet. Hopefully giving Mike Leake a well-deserved ovation as he has pitched brilliantly tonight. The Reds have chimed in with 13 hits, including big home runs from Roland, Frazier, and Bruce. Here's Murphy, 0 for 3. Leake would move to 5 and 7, with Homer Bailey looking for his 11th win of the season tomorrow against Matt Harvey. Reds live pregame coming up at 6:30. The Reds will follow at 7:10. Ball and a strike. $26,000 will take you through it. Puts an exclamation point on a night where Todd Frazier's hit a tape measure home run. Dusty Baker has seen his team solidify its lead in first place, and Mike Leake give the Reds another complete game. Their 8th of the year, his 2nd of the year, and the congratulations are well deserved on this night, Chris.
Yeah, this is the way a first place ball club ought to play, George, against a team that's almost 13 games out of first place. Bottom line, this ball club's rolling right along without Joey Votto or not. They're getting great pitching last night from Latos. Ditto that again for tonight from Mike Leake. Even helped himself with a run batted in. They were playing long ball with home runs. It was a fun night at the ballpark.
More to talk about of this fun night when we return to Great American Ballpark after these messages.